Welcome back, Indie Game Fanatics, to another first look video. In this one, we're checking out the demo for Heroes Odyssey, Summoned into Ancient Greece with a quest I didn't ask for, the demo. It's another visual novel, which we recently covered an adult visual novel on the channel. Now we're checking out just a regular visual novel, not an adult one. This one is a comedy. Struck by lightning, reborn in a world of gods and ancient secrets. Embark on a quest and shape your destiny in this isekai visual novel inspired by ancient Greece. Bond with your companions, uncover divine secrets, and make choices that will define your story. The demo came out in February, and the full game is scheduled to come out later in 2025. We were reached out to directly by the developer to ask to check out the game. It is being developed and published by Sweet Senin Games, or Senin Games. Apology if I pronounced that right. So let's jump right into this one and check it out. Enter a realm where gods and nightmares conspire and monstrous horrors thirst for mortal blood. This journey is not for children or the faint of heart. Anxiety and depression may be magnified by the terrors within. Certain minigames contain visual effects that may not be suitable for individuals with epilepsy or other photosensitive conditions. Playing Heroes Odyssey, you confirm you are at least 13 years old and accept the possibility of confronting truly unsettling content and your own grim fate. I can't tell if this is being serious or not, this introduction, but it is a yes or no. A lot of disclaimers of visual novels use this style, especially when it comes to like adult visual novels. They'll do this like all characters over the age of 18. It is fantasy. And you are confirming that you are at least that age. In this case, because of the epileptic seizure warning, as well as some of the content being a bit darker, I guess, even though it's a comedy, they want to make sure that people are at least 13. The weather was ugly, as it always was on this day of the year. Heavy rain fell from the dark clouds, which covered even the tiniest scrap of the sky. The headlights of passing cars were reflecting off the wet asphalt.
Always the same.
The wind-tossed trees had already lost half their leaves, which now leapt and danced above the sidewalks, and the ever-hurrying passerby clutching their umbrellas. Colorful lightning bolts frequently streaked across the sky, their long branching shapes striking fear. With each thunderclap, the sound grew closer and closer. The sound of fire truck sirens echoed through the streets, stopping curious onlookers who, as they turned to look, tried to guess where the accident had occurred. It was the first time I had the chance to observe such a gloomy day from above. From the roof of the university I attended. Taking advantage of the break before the last class, I decided to spend it here, hidden from others, yet able to see everyone around me. I watched the other students, some walking home and some rushing towards their cars, with bags and backpacks shielding their heads as if afraid the rain might melt them. I mean, it is rain. I saw groups of friends and couples strolling through the park, their wet hands clasped together between two umbrellas. I never carried an umbrella. I wasn't afraid of the rain. Besides, that way I didn't have to worry about the winds trying to snatch it away from me. I simply kept walking towards my destination, and once I got there, I waited until my clothes dried up. Not really an inconvenience for me. I would hate that.
After all, I'm not made of sugar.
At times, I was met with curious glances and prying comments, asking if I seriously couldn't afford the luxury of an umbrella. I never paid them any mind. Perhaps 5 years ago I might have been bothered by someone mocking me, But now I couldn't care less. No matter what others said, it was meaningless to me. Nothing was the same after the tragedy that befell me. I never thought I'd have to face the death of someone so close to me. I remember stopping hanging out with my friends and completely neglecting classes, which caused my grades to plummet. It's a miracle I even managed to get into a college. However, thanks to the help of others, I started working on myself. Honestly, this story is hitting a bit close to home. I see why they have the warning at the beginning now, as it is covering some dark topics. It's actually resonating with me quite a lot right now because I suffered a lot of loss at that point in my life. In high school, there was a plane crash for the JROTC group at our school, and 3 of the friends I had in high school perished in that plane crash. Yeah, losing people, that are in your life at that age can be very difficult to handle. And so it's understandable. It takes some time to kind of get over being able to function and being able to live with what occurred. Some might think I'm a depressed melancholic, but it's weather like this that puts me in such a mood. I was usually a pretty cheerful person, or at least I tried to be for the past 2 years. Not to mention, today marks the anniversary of the tragedy I mentioned. The anniversary of death. Someone once told me that rain falls when God cries. I laughed in their face, telling them that God isn't real. But when I realized that every year on the same day a downpour hits the city, I began to wonder if there wasn't at least a little bit of truth to it. Such an unforeseen death of such a good person would surely sadden even God. I walked up to the railing at the edge of the roof, hoping to stay unnoticed by the college staff. I clutched it and looked down at the stairs leading to the main entrance, located directly below me. Tear after tear fell down my already wet face. Cold gusts of wind made me start feeling the chill outside. If you're here, blank, I bet you'd tell me a thing or two about how I'm acting right now. You can't guess what this word is. You'd tell me how much of a dumbass I am, standing this close to the barrier. Especially when the ground's so wet and slippery. Even though it's been 5 years since I last saw you, I still knew exactly what you'd say to me right now. I know what you're thinking. Calm down, go back inside and stop with this moody crap. Fuck. Honestly, I just want to know how you're doing. I raised my head to the sky and closed my eyes. I took a deep breath, letting the cold air fill my throat until I felt the chill scratch at my larynx. I exhaled, repeating this a few more times. That was my meditation, my way of reaching out to my memories. I remembered a scene from many years ago. My first attempt at cooking was back in elementary school. Okay, so this is the person's name. And I went on a trip that included cooking classes. And forgetting their name, honestly, is so real. That's something else, I can't remember any of their names now. It's been such a long time. I've always been bad with names anyways, but I used to know all of their names very well. Now I don't. We had to make tamagoyaki, which shouldn't have been a problem for kids our age. However, it proved to be quite a challenge for me. Not only did I burn my omelet, but also salted it so badly that it was impossible to even try. Blank noticed me struggling, so he invited me to his station. Together we managed to fry the best tamagoyaki in our group. I also remember the time we went skiing together. Blank even already knew how to ski, spent his whole day teaching me how to do it. We had an instructor, but he insisted on teaching me himself because he knew what worked best for me. As it turned out, he was right. I caught on quickly, and the very next day we were racing each other down the hill. But my favorite memory of all was playing heroes and villains. He and I used to go to the nearby playground where we'd put on a real show for the kids from the neighborhood. We'd throw on towels, swiped from home, wearing them like capes. And then we'd become real anime heroes. We'd grab our toy swords and battle to the death. I always got to be the superhero, not that I ever complained. I wonder, though, why Blank never minded being the villain. I figured he just knew I didn't want to be one. Our fight scenes must have been really spectacular because all the neighborhood kids would gather at the playground just to watch us. Sadly, bad things always seem to happen to good people. It felt as if some evil being had infected my mind. The alien memory appeared in my mind, one that had no right being there. I'd seen it often before, but I knew it was nothing more than a trick of my mind. 2 bright headlights. That image flashed before my eyes every now and then. I knew it wasn't real, but each time it appeared, it felt less and less foreign. Suddenly, there was a loud crack. A bright flash lit up the sky, followed by a deafening boom. I looked ahead and saw a tree in the park across from me go up in flames. But the pouring rain snuffed it out just as quickly. What a strange coincidence. Spending a thunderstorm on the university's open roof probably wasn't the smartest idea. I felt my heart race as I remembered once more what day it was today. A day without the person I won the best Tamagoyaki contest with, the one I raced down ski slopes with, and the one who was my superhero. The feeling of longing rushed back to me. A sharp pain invaded my chest, and a helpless groan escaped my lips. I swallowed the huge lump in my throat.
I miss you. I miss you so much. Wherever you are. Give me a sign. Give me a sign if you can.
Some decent voice acting there. I then felt my hair slowly lifting upwards towards the sky. I couldn't believe it. Was that the sign I was waiting for? No. That's the sign you should run. Tears still running down my cheeks, I smiled to myself and thanked aloud. I felt fulfilled. I could finally go back inside. When I turned on my heel, ready to rush towards the door leading to the top floor of the building, a flash blinded me for an instant. I don't fully remember what happened next, but just a moment later there was a loud crack, loud enough that I could have sworn my ears had started to bleed. I lost my footing and fell to the ground with a loud thud. Unable to catch my breath, I alternated between trying to open my eyes and making a sound. No dice. All that was left for me was to beg for help in my thoughts. Then I heard it once again, the familiar voice calling my name. I let out a soft groan. I felt a stinging pain at the back of my head, but I couldn't even muster enough strength to rub it. Nor could I open my eyes, let alone move any of my limbs. Our game will contain various minigames. The minigame is about to begin. Hit the circle at just the right moment. Good luck. Okay. How do I know when's the right moment? I could hear the murmur of the sea somewhere nearby, along with the sound of waves crashing against the surface of the water. In the distance, the squawking of seagulls could be heard. Where am I? I heard the incomprehensible mumble escape my lips. I was trying my best to recall the last thing that had happened to me. I remember standing on the roof of my university, the weather was horrible, and it only got worse after that damn storm. Then a bright flash blinded me, followed by a thunderclap so loud it nearly ruptured my eardrums. I couldn't remember what happened after that. Judging by the surrounding sounds, I'd guess I'm no longer in the city. Suburbs, maybe?
Hey, you! Can you hear me?
A masculine voice was calling out in the distance. Unable to open my eyes, I could only assume I was the one he was calling out to. I heard footsteps a moment later, the sound of bare feet shuffling along sand. A man walked up and stood right by my head. I could hear his shallow breathing. He must have been casting a shadow over my body because I immediately felt comforted, and my skin, which had been burning up, could now breathe a sigh of relief from the sun? How strange. Such scorching sun in late autumn? I could have sworn it was raining just a moment ago.
Everything all right? You look pretty worn out. Taking care of a stranger. Oh, just what I wanted.
I mustered enough energy to slowly raise my left and then my right eyelid. Why'd I almost say earlid? My vision was still blurring. Even though my eyes were playing tricks on me, I could tell I was on a beach. My brain was still sluggish. It took me a moment to recall that the nearest beach to my city was in... I don't even know where.
Oh, you're alive! What a surprise!
I let out a quiet groan and closed my eyes. The bright colors too much for me to handle. I tried to wake up my overheated brain, asking it where I was and why, though it proved to be harder than I expected. I could only remember fragments of what had happened. At that moment, I couldn't tell whether my morning on the rooftop had been a dream or if I was in one now. Fuck. My head. I started rubbing my temples. My fingers brushed against tiny grains stuck in my hair. Either my dandruff had come back with a vengeance or I was lying in sand. I wasn't sure which scenario was more likely. As my strength slowly returned, a sudden wave of panic surged through me. Cold sweat trickled down my back and face. I placed my hands at my sides and took a deep breath, then slowly exhaled. Bless whoever invented meditation.
Are you dead? Hello? Seriously?
I swear, if you've had too much wine or smoked too many herbs, I'm going to strangle you with my bare hands. The stranger seemed to be slowly getting frustrated with my silence. I waited a moment longer before mustering the rest of my strength to rise off the ground. My vision was still playing tricks on me, blurring even more, probably due to how quickly I'd gotten up from the ground. Even so, I could still make out that the mysterious man standing before me was practically, if not completely naked. My vision was still unfocused, though I could clearly tell that his legs were hairy, almost unnaturally so, and that he was wearing a strange pair of shoes, almost like hoofs. When I saw his face, my heart skipped a beat. The man wore a truly lifelike mask with horns and elongated, almost elf-like ears. He looked like a member of some cult. Only after a few moments was I able to regain my sight, so I took another look at him and froze in disbelief. His hairy legs weren't just excessively hairy, they looked like they belonged to a goat. His shoes looked like real hoofs, and the mask seemed to be his actual face. At that moment, the stranger no longer seemed like a cult member, instead he seemed like the devil himself. I let out a booming, uncontrollable scream, which startled the demon, making it recoil to the side and snarl at me.
What? What are you?
For you, I can be whoever you want. Bit suggestive. I noticed the glint in his eyes. I bet those eyes have lured more than one person in. It wasn't comforting in the slightest. Not comforting at all. I felt goosebumps slowly appearing on my skin. I was frozen like a statue, only able to stare at him in horror. He was meeting my gaze, looking at me with curiosity. He brushed his dark, wavy hair back with his hand, then grabbed his goatee. Have to admit, in hell, from where he probably came, he must have been a model.
Damon!
Okay, now you've gone too far. Do I look like someone who takes pleasure in torturing human souls?
Yes!
Correct.
Huh?
Lax, I'm just messing with you. For your information, just because something has horns and hoofs doesn't mean it's a demon. I wish someone would shout when they see a demon. Ah! I can't pronounce the word. I want to say satire? Or satire? I cannot recall how to pronounce this word. I know what these creatures are. I have seen them in fantasy fiction before. But because that's exactly what I am. I am. Always the same.
My name is Callius.
Callius. Alright. Nice to meet you, Callius. Was it all just a dream? Yeah, it must have been a stupid dream. Because how else could you explain the presence of a demonic goat? Things like that only happen on TV. Creatures like that have no place in the real world. Though if this were all some elaborate prank, they really went all out with the special effects. At least I hadn't ended up in some psychological horror instead. I glanced around, I saw a multitude of rocks and vast sea that stretched out, disappearing over the horizon. I then looked up. The sun was shining so brightly, its glare almost blinding me. I thought to myself that I'd wake up any moment now. The stream was different from the rest. It was so realistic, I could feel the scorching sand beneath my feet, the hot sun on my skin, the breeze, and the salty water droplets on my face. Callius, the man standing before me, looked as real as they come. I couldn't stop myself and I touched his stomach. I was surprised by how real the touch felt, and even the scent of his fur and oils. I looked up, meeting Callius's gaze, his arms crossed and his horned head swaying from side to side. Gulping nervously, I took a step back.
You flatter me. But how about you introduce yourself first?
Huh, forgive me. I just wanted to make sure this isn't just some dream. A dream? I assure you, boy, this is no dream. I'm very sorry. Alright, no big deal. What are you even doing here? And where are other humans? I bit my tongue before finishing my question. I didn't want to be reprimanded again, so I quickly corrected myself. Citizens.
Easy there.
Calm down, we're not the only ones here. It's a very well-hidden beach. Hardly anyone knows about it. I stumbled across it purely by chance after getting lost on the trail. So you're very lucky that I decided to show up here today. Oops, I'd open the chat log. Lucky? Where even am I?
Where? On a Greek island called Damathea. That's where.
A Greek island. Hold on. A goat man, a Greek island. Did I just wake up in a mythological world? I was starting to regret that my knowledge of myths were limited to what we covered in literature class. At least the major I chose didn't turn out to be such a bad idea. Who would have thought that European literature would come in handy one day? Though now that I think about it, I think I'd still prefer the psychological horror. Whatever. I wonder how Callius would react if I told him he's just a fictional character. Ask about mythology. You said a Greek islands, like the ones in mythology?
What?
Mythology? Callius seemed generally taken back by my question, almost as if I'd asked him which modeling agency he worked for. I felt more and more self-conscious with each word I spoke. You know, the collection of myths about Greek gods, demigods, satyrs, and all that. He looked deep in thought. He squinted his eyes, sunshine lighting up his face. Zeus, Aphrodite, Hades, Dionysus.
Enough!
I stopped immediately, widening my eyes. Callias seemed furious. Have I done something to anger him once more? I gulped and tried to force out an apology, but it came out so faint that he didn't even seem to hear it. Callias stomped his foot and took a menacing step towards me. I was afraid that my adventure might end prematurely.
You're pushing your luck.
Are you seriously trying to test the limits of my patience? Guys. Both my cats just jumped, acting like they were spooked suddenly on my table. Or are you perhaps hoping to prove to me that my kind is not as smart as it might seem? Checking if I'm foolish enough to believe your every word. If you have something to say to me, then... No. Excuse me for saying all that. I'd never even dream of belittling you. It's just where I come from. This world is only a fantasy.
What?
Fantasy? You're still going on with this? No, I'm sorry. Where are you even from? Japan? Never heard of that village. Sounds exotic. Excuse me? Did I hear him correctly? I'd understand if someone didn't know where my country was, but mistaking it for a village? That sounded like he was just trying to get under my skin. It sounds so isolated from the outside world. No wonder it's hard for you to believe in such an advanced civilization as ours. Alright, I've probably earned that one. Tell me, Callias, what exactly am I doing here? I should ask you the same thing. And then there was an awkward silence. I perfectly understood what he was trying to imply. I'd also prefer to go back to my uni's roof and simply head to my Gothic literature classes where we discussed interesting novels. Callias must have noticed how embarrassed his blatant dislike of me had made me, because he eased up a bit and no longer sounded like an asshole. It looks like the sea has washed you up on the shore.
How strange.
No wonder he was so rude. He probably got so many compliments about his looks that his ego inflated like a balloon. I had this one friend back in elementary. The compliments from our classmates really messed up her head. One day she flat out told me that I was too average to be her friend anymore. Oof. That's painful. That's where your ego gets too inflated to actually care about the people who care about you. What was that? Forget it.
Unless...
There's one more explanation, though it seems even less likely. What's that? Before I arrived at the beach, I saw a single lightning bolt across the sky. Or at least I thought I did. I think it struck somewhere around here. Now that I think about it, it might have hit this very spot we're standing on right now. I wasn't sure if I understood him correctly, but I believe Callias was suggesting that the lightning bolt could have brought me here to this beach. That theory shouldn't surprise me, all things considered. After all, I was currently shooting the breeze with an ill-mannered half-man, half-goat. I wasn't sure about much time I've spent on the island, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't just washed ashore by the sea. My clothes should have been at least a bit damp, but I didn't feel anything sticking to my body, not even my briefs. Not to mention that I probably would have drowned before washing up to the shore. I didn't think I'd been lying on the beach for too long either. If I had, the scorching sun surely would have made its mark on me. I didn't have any sunburns, not even reddened skin, no sign of a heat stroke-induced headache either. Callias stood in front of me in silence, probably checking if I'm smart enough to catch his hint about the lightning bolt. Alright, guys. So, this is the beginning of Heroes Odyssey. I'm both enjoying it and not enjoying it at the same time. The very beginning is pretty dark. However, now that we're in the mythological part where he's been transported to ancient Greece, the dialogues become a little bit more humorous. But yeah, decent so far. The writing's really good. The voice acting surprised me. I wasn't expecting any of it to be voice acted. I'm curious to know how many of the how much of the spoken dialogue is going to be voice acted when the game fully releases. But even so, I think about 85% of what has been spoken dialogue has been stated by the people who are voice acting the characters, which is pretty cool. I like the sound effects, the background, like here on the beach, you're hearing the waves. On top of the music, you're getting the feel of it being a beach. Visually, you're kind of seeing like the sparkles on the water. Very nice background for this part of the visual novel. But yeah, so enjoying it so far. Pretty cool demo. Definitely looking forward to the full game when it comes out. Yeah, I'll have a link to the Steam page for both the demo and for the full game. Make sure to wishlist it if it's something that you found interesting. And yeah, I'll see you guys again next time.